the war on drugs has been going on. The modern day war on drugs has occurred since the early 1970s. There was a more minimal war prior to that, but prior to 1912, there was no war on drugs, and a lot of people survived, you know, even in those years when they could go out and buy whatever they wanted. But the war on drugs is very, very dangerous. But the war on drugs is, matter of fact, drugs are very, very dangerous. But the war on drugs, I think, is more dangerous than the drugs themselves. Now, I do want to make a very strong point, both as a physician, as a parent, and as a grandparent. All drugs are dangerous. Illegal drugs are dangerous. The war on drugs are dangerous, but prescription drugs are very dangerous as well. But certainly if we would follow the rules about giving more prerogatives to the states, some states now are just making token efforts to say that people who smoke marijuana for medical reasons should be allowed to. States have passed laws that way. But what happens? We have the heavy hand of the federal government coming down. They undo this whole principle of states' rights and say that we will tell you what you can do. And our federal government has been known to arrest sick people in wheelchairs, individuals who are getting benefits from marijuana, and putting them in prison. That makes no sense whatsoever. But the real harm done by the war on drugs, and we can't dismiss the fact that drugs are very dangerous, but the real danger is the undermining of our personal civil liberties, because that is used as an excuse to invade our homes without searching them. It's gotten much worse with this other law that was passed after 9/11, and that is called the Patriot Act, which should be repealed. The Patriot Act, as I've said in the debates, is very unpatriotic. Amen. The Patriot Act was passed, and that bill was floating around for a long time, and that was an opportunity to pass it and get a bill out there that they wanted to pass all along. But, you know, if they would have called that bill Repeal the Fourth Amendment Act, maybe it wouldn't have passed. But I'm sure you know that if you see a bill and you see the name on a bill going through the Congress, the name is almost always opposite of what it's going to end up doing, you know. So it's a very bad piece of legislation. So I think next year, when we get this opportunity to change some of these things, we should call it we shouldn't call it Repeal the Patriot Act. What we should do is let's restore the Fourth Amendment Act is what we need. It is the Patriot Act that gives cover to many times the SWAT teams had been coming into our homes and into our apartments, breaking in without proper search warrants. Now they can do it wholesale. And lo and behold, I imagine you have heard, there's a few occasions when they actually go into the wrong homes, and they've actually killed the wrong people. They shouldn't even be doing it, but it is out of control. They'll march in our homes without the proper authority, and the Fourth Amendment was supposed to guarantee that we would not be invaded by our government without a proper search warrant. Has encouraged those individuals that are supposed to be protecting us, our airports, but what did they do? They prod and poke and x-ray us without any proper permission either. So someday we can think up a better way to protect us at the airports without the TSA. president sent somebody over to the Senate, and he announced a new policy. And the new policy was that the president, under his understanding as being the commander-in-chief, he could assassinate American citizens. Now, he explained it constitutionally. He said that he's the commander-in-chief. And if it's not prohibited in the Constitution, he's allowed to do anything he wants. I think he has it flipped around a little bit. He's supposed to be able to do only the things that he has the explicit authority to do. So he went and proved his point. He's already now assassinated 3 Americans. Well, the first one, Alaki, probably a bad guy, even though they never made any charges. They never had a trial. They never said he did anything. But he probably was associated with some bad actors. He wasn't in his country, so they said, we're going to go after him. And with a drone missile, they killed him. So he had no due process. But they said that another family member was an associated force, associated with him, so therefore he was guilty too. So the next week, they assassinated him. But it turned out he was 16 years old, barbecuing in the backyard with his cousin. I don't think that's what America is supposed to be all about at all. I think we have to have more respect for civil liberties in this country. And of course, the Congress is not much better. The president's taking too much power. The Congress encourages the president. They've done it, with the war on drugs. And also, just in December, they passed a bill, the National Defense Authorization Act. And it's obvious that you know a little bit about that. I'm always impressed by that. Because I know you didn't hear about it on the evening news. That's what I'm sure of. But under that bill, the Congress gave the president the authority to arrest any American citizen who is an associated force. Maybe website, attending a meeting, handing emails, or whatever. Just be loosely associated with somebody, you can be charged. But arrested by the military, which violates posse comitatus, that's essentially been repealed. That you can be arrested, denied an attorney, denied charges, denied a trial, and put in a secret prison indefinitely. And that's what the law says. If we want to live in a republic, we can't allow this stuff to stay on the books. We gotta stand up and say, enough is enough. We need to change this and quit doing this to them. Issues for a long time, and in the last 4 or 5 years, the country has become alive with this because of the great concern about our debt and our foreign policy and our civil liberties. But the great thing is that there are certain groups coming together right now are really standing up for these values. One is a group of people who have known about these views for a long time, have felt frustrated, they've sort of dropped out, discussed it with both parties, and maybe never voted again, but now they're coming in and they're getting excited about a different view on government. But also, there's a young group of people now graduating into the adulthood who now, in the college age group, are enthusiastic about these views. That's what gets me excited. Has been fantastic in the 50s and the 60s when I was looking for information, trying to sort these things out. It wasn't all that easy. I mean, I certainly couldn't get it off the TV. I certainly couldn't get it from my government. I couldn't get it from my government schools. But there were just a few people who were holding together and expressing these views. But today, we don't have that handicap. Today, we have a very, very public secret weapon. That is the internet. Those who in charge fear the internet because, you know, it's a powerful weapon. And they've already been working very hard on clamping down on the internet. And this Stop Online Piracy Act was a very, very bad bill. And let's be grateful that's been taken off the docket. Us encouragement when the people wake up and send a message. Even those individuals in Washington who are sound asleep get the message, because they were getting onto that bill wholesale. They had the votes and it was about to come to the floor. The people like you woke up and sent messages out there. So we still have enough freedom to wake this country up and change the direction, but it has to come from the people. It won't come top down. It has to come from the people, because government reflects the values of the people. So if that's what you want and you speak out and you do your job, Washington will change. My personal convictions are that the goals ought to be very, very plain. Living in a free society is what I want. I've always been convinced that even if I lived in a free society and didn't have as much wealth, I still want to live in a free society. But fortunately for us, we don't have to make that decision. The freer society, the richer the society. The bigger the middle class and the more wealth there is, the better the distribution. So we never have to be bashful when the so-called humanitarians say, well, you who believe in the free market and capitalism, you don't care about people. If you care about people, you will defend liberty, you'll defend the free markets and sound money and no special interest out of the U.S. government to this special.